when you walk up to one of these warehouses in Brooklyn, these dilapidated warehouses, what is this warehouse? Like what is going on in there? And B, what is your purpose there?
So my purpose would just be to go bring back and forth gold and money, some, jewels. Sometimes it's used as payment. Sometimes it's going to go into a product. I guess in just plain English, these warehouses are refineries. They just, they're we buy gold in cash places. So they just get all the scrap gold from everywhere and they just, refine it and purify it and melt bars of, pure 24 karat. The thing I got into on that podcast is are not necessarily done in the most legit way by the most legit people. Mm-hmm. But as far as the business purpose of it goes, that's really what goes on there mostly.
So it's gold smelting operations that are probably illegal. Or just
there are probably a lot
aspect.
Of corners being cut to avoid having to give the man so much money.
Yeah. So you would roll up to one of these warehouses and just like if someone was walking through one of these warehouses, if they wanted the warehouse experience wearing an Oculus, like they're literally just walking through and experiencing it, could you describe to people who are listening like what you would see from the moment you walked up to it, exactly what these buildings looked like? Obviously, like, if you can't be too specific, that's 100% okay.
So just, think of like your average, turn of the century style Brooklyn warehouse, right? You see them all the time. Outside, they look like shit. They got plywood. They're all boarded up, blah, blah, blah. They'll usually have one entrance that's made of plywood. You open that and you'll get to a set of nice doors. They actually have a nice lobby, a nice elevator.
This sounds like where I saw Zed in an abandoned warehouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same
vibe. It's also not the kind of place that you're going to be able to get into if you weren't expected. It's everything will just appear locked and shit like that. You might have a legit security guard come to tell you and fuck off or call the police. But once you do get inside, it's typically going down into a basement, not up into upper floors. And you walk in, there's a little clean space where you have to go ahead and put on a Tyvek suit and then get dusted off. You walk through that vestibule and, you got your general hierarchy of employees. You just got a bunch of immigrant workers that go ahead and are watched through CCTV cameras, like getting gold dust together and smelting it and pouring a bar out, and they take it over to a scale and shit like that. You have a couple private security guards. Some of them are armed, some of them are not, some just pepper spray. You usually got like a foreman type. He's running that whole operation, or at least that section of wherever he is. That's really what it is. It's it's kind of like going to an Escobar grow lab, except instead of cocaine and weed, it's gold. So it's like some of that shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say it kind of reminds me of, based on what you're describing, the scenes in American Gangster with Denzel Washington. Have you ever seen that movie?
I know what it is. I have not seen it myself.
So he's a heroin dealer, heroin kingpin that was based in New York.
Yeah,
that would get the heroin straight from the source. But in the movie, they show all the girls that are naked, either naked or in suits that are making the heroin, doing whatever they have to do to sell it, and it's in this lab, and it's just, I guess you can't take anything with you because you're
there's
naked.
a metal detector. They wand people when they come out. You tend to not want to steal from your employer, especially if your employer deals with tens of millions of dollars of gold in a month. That guy probably has connections. There's not a lot of theft that goes down at that level. There's a lot of theft within the industry. People tend to fuck people over within the industry when you get these, these jewelers and these big promoters on Instagram, so, there's a lot of dirty shit that goes on. And unfortunately, that dirty play gets passed on to some of the, the end customers. So that's why, I said then you always got to be careful when you buy jewelry. Definitely know where it's coming from. Yeah, shit like that.
How did your role working for your friend's shop escalate to the point of making these deliveries? Like, was it Did you just get a call from him one day? He's like, "Yo, I need you to take this bag. Don't ask any questions." Like,
it happened right at the office. It was
really?
like I'd show up to work with, like, we had a factory where we'd make our own product and our our Cuban link chains and bracelets and shit and sell them. Normally he'd go by himself and do this, but if he was finishing a job, he'd be like, "Yo, take my truck and go drive here. I'll text you the address. Take this bag of money, give it to them, bring back the gold." So, like, my first person view of it, it was really just a 9 to 5. Like, it was a little weird, the kind of environments and situations I was exposed to. There were a few weird encounters that took place not in a warehouse. Like, I'd meet people at random points in the city and like give them finished work for a wad of cash and a rubber band, so it's like there was shit like that, but he was pretty nonchalant about it.
So are you allowed to carry a weapon on you because you're dealing with high value things?
Not,
like if
especially in New York City.
So if you're on the subway carrying thousands of dollars of gold or jewelry, you can't get a permit for a weapon?
No, and I prefer to be stuck in my private vehicle in traffic.
Okay.
I don't like taking a subway with like 6 figures worth of anything.
I was gonna say that. That's a good point. Yeah. I would just be sweating profusely on the subway carrying bags of diamonds.
I've done
it
before. The times I've done it, I literally got back to the shop and I told him, I don't give a fuck what you say. I'm taking my car. Like, it's one of those things. Yeah.